find myself. There I am. Hi, Sherry. Just trying to make sure everybody could find me. There we go. So we're going to kind of follow up to what we did yesterday. And, oh, I still have one piece of white left. So I have my thick white and my regular white. That's what we're using today. And I'm actually, since it's sunny, I'm going to get, thank you, Sherry, I appreciate it. Since it's sunny, when I go down to the camera or to the tabletop, I'm going to give a close-up of the cards because the close-ups that I photographed last night didn't show up super clear. So that way, at least they'll be a little bit clear. I just have to grab my stamp set. This just in case. So I have I don't know if I called it the wrong name, but no, Forever Fern. That's what we're focusing on today. I also grabbed, here's a card in case we wanted to swap Sympathy. I also have Happy Thoughts, and I brought in Peaceful Moments, but I want to share. Someone shared this with me. Sorry, I have things on the floor. About Many Messages, which also does have a really nice, very slimline Sympathy. So you might have some older stamps because there are significant amount of older stamps that have a nice cursive script for Sympathy. They're just retired. So I try not to use stuff that's retired because then if you want it, you can't get it any longer. So kind of keep that in mind if that's something that you want to do. I'm going to just put these to the side, and just for another minute while everybody's coming in, I'm going to cut up a couple more pieces of thick white for our base. Now, the cards that I'm going to do today aren't going to have layers of white embossed, like embossing folder layers under them. You could certainly add it, and it might actually look pretty for a few of them. But I have one other idea for one of the cards. So I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to cut one more up just in case. I have one more idea for one of the cards of something else that you could do. So I kind of have a picture in my mind of what I want to do, and then we'll see how it plays out. So I looked at a lot of cards online. I look at a lot of stuff on Pinterest. So being 100% transparent honest, where I get a lot of my ideas is from designs on Pinterest. What I'll try to do is I'll look at either the layout that they may have or the stamp set that they're using and kind of try to play off of it. So I saw some really beautiful cards using the Forever Greenery, the whole suite. But what I thought we could do, and I'm just going to bring in maybe a piece or two of something. So Peacock was a great one. You probably could also go with Misty Moonlight, but I want to go with something that's got a really deep tone. So I'm just going to pull out a couple inks. I'm going to pull out Pretty Peacock, and I kind of want to do Just Jade. I almost feel like it might be a little bit too bright, but I'm going to pull it out anyway, Just Jade. And then I want to grab one more color, and I wanted to go with something that was like a nice deep color. And I know this may seem a little bit unusual, and I don't know, maybe I'm wondering if I should probably go with Blackberry Bliss versus Gorgeous Grape. I think I'm going to go with Blackberry Bliss. So we don't really have a color combination per se today because we're not going to use these together. But this would make a really nice color combo. Just Jade, Pretty Peacock, and Blackberry Bliss. Now, Pretty Peacock is going to be retiring. So if you love that one, well, I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't, but you never know. It's potentially retiring is what I like to say. It won't be in color any longer. Let's put it that way. So If you like that color, you probably are better off making sure you get an ink refill, just because if not, you won't be able to get one and you're going to pay a ridiculous amount on eBay. I did once before. I was just telling someone this the other day, as a matter of fact. It was the crisp cantaloupe, strawberry slush, coastal cabana, baked brown sugar, and pistachio pudding. Never bought the ink refills. I spent like $35 for 5 ink refills, which is ridiculous. So don't do that. Buy your ink refills. So I saw a couple comments. I just want to make sure I see anything on here. So hey, Sherry and Terry and Diana and Jean, hopefully you're doing well. I'm a little blurry. I can't see you either, if that makes you feel any better. Okay. Maybe it's better. I don't know. There's no one here except for me and Rainbow Stamper, so there's not really any internet use. You cased my cards from yesterday and I love them. You cut the poppy layer with the stitch. Oh, that's a great idea. I love the Stitch So Sweetly dies. They're another great, like, easy must-have die set. So if you don't have the stitch rectangles, the Stitch So Sweetly, they just make like such a nice layer to the cards. And since you mentioned that, I'm going to grab those two just in case. They are part of the So Sentimental bundle, which has like healing hugs, but it doesn't really say sympathy. But she's, I'm guessing you're talking about these up here and probably not these at the bottom. They're beautiful. They do really make just like a beautiful, nice touch. When you're making a sympathy card, it doesn't have to be fancy, because you want it to be subtle and reminding them of the person they lost. Maybe it's your phone. Could be. You never know. Sorry, but whenever anybody tells me they're watching me on TV, it makes me a little nervous. So I'm not going to do anything dumb. I'm going to try not to. I probably just jinxed myself. But anyway, we're going to get started. So what we're going to do today, I have all thick basic white for the base, and they're all cut hot dog style. So they're long, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And I'm going to show you these. So I'm going to just pull these out really quickly because sometimes the glare is a little funky. I did send the one off to the funeral today, so I don't have all 4 of them, or 5. I only have 4. So I'm going to show you these. And let me move this off to the side. And the only other thing I'm going to need is some, I don't know if this is Whisper or Basic White, but I have one piece because I'm going to do some stamping and die cutting. That's the majority of what we're going to do today. And we're going to try to keep it very simple. Same thing again, okay? So let me move this over. Have my ink selections, and I'm going to put these down. And what I'll do is, since it's a little bit brighter in here, I will try to show you each of them just a teeny bit closer. Let me move this. Sorry. I have a couple things in the way. All right, and here's a couple other scrap pieces just in case I need them. Okay, so I'm going to flip you around. So if you get a little motion sick, just look away for a moment. And we're going to go down to the tabletop. Okay. And I just want to move this out of the way. So, got a funny story for you all. The other day, Rainbow Stamper and I were out riding bikes. We've been doing that because it's been so nice here lately. And just want to move this over just a little bit farther. We were riding along, and Rainbow Stamper loves to do skid stops. My friend Rhonda told him that they were called laying patches. So he's been laying patches here, there, and everywhere, which is kind of funny. But anyway, he laid so many patches with his back tire that he actually completely wore the rubber off. And we were riding bikes, and there was a little spot like about this big, and I was riding behind him, and I thought, what is that? It was his tube herniating through the tire. So today, after the live, we're going to get a new tire put on his car. But I have never in all my years, I've probably been riding bikes for 40 years. I'm 45 years old. I've never ever known anyone to wear out all the rubber on their tire to get a new one. So I told him that was the first I've ever, which was hilarious. He thought that was so funny. But anyway, let me slide this over so I can see. Okay, so this, I think this was one of my absolute favorites. This one was the light and dark mango, and then I used light pumpkin pie and light poppy parade. It was kind of like a sunset, pretty. And that was the old world paper. So there's that one. This one was with the light and dark Calypso coral and then the light Cajun craze. And then I used the subtle folder. This one was probably not my favorite. It just wasn't as bright as I wanted it to be. This was light and dark pumpkin pie with dark Cajun craze. It was just a little too dark, but still pretty. And then this one we just tore a piece of paper and sponged. Actually, we didn't even sponge. We did direct ink to the tear, and that was with gray granite. No, smoky slate. And then this one was really pretty too. This was light and dark Daffodil Delight with light Mango Melody. And then this one was the textured textiles, I think is what it's called. But I think they were all really pretty. They're really kind of unique in their own way. I think I just love this one. The torn paper and then that old world paper background and something about the slant on that. It's just beautiful. I think they all turned out really beautiful. So I'm glad I have some cards handy. And you could probably even get away with doing these in light blues or greens, honestly, because I really don't think it would be like a travesty to the card in any way. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on using Forever Fern. We're just going to do just a couple things, and I'm going to try, oh, I got to fix these dies. I'm going to try to stick with larger dies. So let's see, this one. All right, we'll use that one. And I'm going to try just to do them in a couple different things. And I'm gonna show you what I'm going for once we get going here, but I'm still trying to go with simple. I always like this one. I love these eucalyptus leaves. And that one, I thought it had a die. Am I wrong? Maybe that one doesn't have a die. Oh, here it is. This one has this die. Okay, so I have my 3 dies out. And then just to make something a little simple, I'm gonna put 2 of these. So I'm just going to go with those 3 stamps. I'm going to do these 2, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab here it is. I'm going to grab some adhesive sheet. So Stampin' Up! Carries a double stick adhesive sheet. You can see it comes in like 3. This one's completely gone, but it comes in 3 strips on one piece of paper. It's 6 by 12. So what I'm going to actually do, move these over just for a moment, is I'm going to put some of this on the back because I'm going to die cut this and this. And I want to maybe be able to fill this in the background. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet, so work in progress. So easiest thing to do for this is I'm going to peel this back, put this down, kind of lining it up with the bottom of the paper here, and just pressing. And then I'm going to grab my scissors and just kind of trim this. Oops. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. And it should fit that it's just fine. So I'm just going to kind of line this up. It doesn't have to be on the whole thing. So just as long as it's on some of it. And just for the sake of, since I'm going to do these with die cuts, I'm just going to do the same on this other half. Let's see. So I'm just putting it, oh, whoops. Crackers. I'm just putting it on the back here. And then we'll stamp or die cut from the other side. And this will at least give some adhesive to most of this. All right, so that's the backing of one part of a sheet. And I'm going to grab just a little piece for this. Oh, I need to add this to my pearlescent paper list because that's the one other thing I don't have. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to piece a piece in here. Just so kind of some of the die cut has a little bit of adhesive. So just same thing, just trimming this off. Okay, so now we're going to stamp on this side. Hopefully there's no splotches there. So this is how it originally comes. It's 6 by 12, and then it has like a little division at the 3-inch mark. It does last a long time. because you do get, I think you get 20 sheets, so that's pretty good bargain. So that's just kind of a little bit of prepping, and this I notice has a little bubble. It's probably from where I double adhesived it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this and this here. So I'm going to tape these in place. See if we can find a way to make them fit a little bit better. We're not using quite as much. And then I'm going to stamp on the other 3 down here. That way, hopefully I can do the least amount of die cutting passes. So those are going to go there. And then we're going to stamp each of these we'll do in one color. So I'm going to do the same thing when I did this yesterday to see which way I like the ink. So I'm going to stamp. These are all pretty, I think they're pretty well inked. And I'm going to see if I like it first or second. I think I like the first. So I'm going to stamp the first for the pretty peacock. Okay. And there's that one. Oh, yes, I just did those Tisha yesterday, as a matter of fact, on a Facebook Live. So if you go up here, if you scroll up on YouTube, I don't know how you scroll on YouTube, but it's the other video I posted last night. So it's definitely on there. All right, so this is Blackberry Bliss. Yeah, and I like the first inking of this as well. So I'm just going to kind of give this some space. So you can see when you die cut this, you don't want them to be too terribly close so you don't overload your die cutting at the same time, but they don't have to be really spaced apart. So there is our Blackberry Bliss. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape these on top. That way when I do run them through, they don't slide over at all. And I'm going to try to avoid the ink part because it might not be 100% dry yet. So here's that. All right, and last but not least, we have just jade, and I'll do that for the eucalyptus. So let me just do the same thing. I'm just going to see what it looks like first, second. That's a little dark, so I'm actually going to go with the second for the eucalyptus. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So let me scoop these up. And I'm going to just grab one more little piece of tape. Let's see if this one wants to stick. I probably would have, if I thought about it, maybe not. This tape is too yucky. I probably would have maybe not used the Just Jade. What would be nice? Probably the Pretty Peacock, honestly. But, because it's just a teeny bit bright. But we might be able to tone it down a little bit with the other white die cut. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut all of these. Hopefully they will fit on one pass. So I just have my Big Shot base. I am going to go, oh, look at that. Just barely fits. Isn't that beautiful? I am going to go back and forth just because these and this are a little bit delicate for their die cutting portion. So I'm going to run these through and I'm going to go one way and the other way. And yesterday, the other thing I did as well with those cards is I also showed you some tips about using your plates. If you have a Big Shot, though, not for anything else. So you can hear all that crackling. That's just the die cutting. And let's make sure. So that was just back and forth. And I'm going to just lift these up. Most of them should fall right out. I just want to make sure the edge. This, I thought I missed this part, so I want to cut this once more. I'm going to go ahead and pull these off, though. But this little teeny piece didn't go through to the edge. So I'm just going to do just this little part here. Since that one's taped, I'll just run it again. Okay, that should be fine. Yeah, much better it went through. So you can see, even though this had a little gap here where that adhesive sheet was, it still is going to have enough on the edges. And this makes them come out really easily. That's the other part that's pretty great about it. Because the adhesive sheet kind of holds on to the little bits and pieces. So one other thing, if you are at the same time, because you're like, oh, that was a lot of adhesive sheet that you used, you can always even cut like a little stitch circle or some kind of shape die cut out of these little pieces if you wanted to. So just remember that you don't have to get rid of this. You could probably fit a tiny sentiment in there, or you could even go in and cut out these little leaves to add. You could do this little thing here. I'm sure you could probably fit that in there if you wanted to. So you don't necessarily have to waste it. I'm just not going to use it at this moment so we don't spend too much time there. All right, so I have our 3 die cuts. And we're going to use these on 3 separate cards, okay? You could use them together, but I think for what I'm going for, I kind of want to keep it very subtle. And hopefully what I have in my head is going to work out. That's the other thing. We'll see. I'm just going to take my paper piercer attachment. I also have my other really old paper piercer that's one of my favorites, so I use that a lot too. But I'm going to just pop these little extra pieces out. It does really, honestly, come out pretty easily with this adhesive sheet on there. The cool part about this is, depending on how you run this through, if you run this with a different sandwich, it actually gives you more embossing on these little leaves. So all those little lines will show up if you run it through. So you could run it back through one more time if you wanted to do that. So just a little tip. And this one I don't think has that same piecing to it. All right, so same thing again. I'm just gonna pull this out. No, this one does. Actually, this one probably, because I ran it through so many times, has much better edging on it. So I'm not sure if you can see this on the video, but it does have little leaf lines. Ooh, there's a little piece of adhesive. Has little leaf lines on them. So that's kind of a neat extra bonus. So let me move this. All right, so one other thing we're going to do, and you can kind of eyeball this. I'm just going to grab, a regular layering circle, kind of just to slightly eyeball it. Let's see what this looks like. You might have to go down a notch. Yeah, that's a little bit big. That's pretty good. So I have one of these. These are just the nested circles. And I'm just kind of using this for like an eyeballing of where I want to do it. And I'm going to grab, oh my goodness, please tell me I didn't take all of my mechanical pencils downstairs. Maybe I did. Oh, here's one. Only because they have really good erasers. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to kind of make a very slight, you don't have to do this, so I know exactly where I want to stamp. So I'm going to go in, we'll do this one. Okay, so this was in the Blackberry Bliss. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to just make sure it's stamped off. Okay, I'm going to ink it, and I'm just going to stamp it. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp 2 times. You know what I want to do? I want to mask just a little bit. So you could either wipe your stamp off, but I just don't want this long piece to go here. But instead, I'm just going to stamp. Oops, is that going to stay? And I know we kind of have this block here, but we can even add this around on that side or something. We could do this with a light gray as well, which I want to do. So I'm going to do that one. Whew. Just got ink on my shirt. I'm going to have to go wash this as soon as we're done. This is one of my favorite shirts. I think that's the first time I've dropped an ink pad actually onto my shirt ever. So guess there's a first time for everything. All right, let me just wipe this off just a smidge. All right, so same thing. I'm going to go with gray granite because it's a little softer. Okay, and same thing again. You know, now that I remember, we noticed that the smoky slate was a lot lighter. I'm going to go to that one. And I'm not inking this part, okay? So I'm just going to kind of ink up here. There we go. We'll add another little something. Ooh, that went off a little bit. That is not exactly what I wanted to do, but we'll work with it. All right, so we have that. Again, you don't have to add the the circle, but it's just kind of something if you want to. I'm going to give this a little bit to dry. Let me make sure my hand is clean because I feel like I grabbed the ink pad. I'm going to make sure this is dry before I erase it. Okay. So then, remember we have our little pieces here. So if we wanted to add something in to kind of cover up that side, we could. But I also want, here it is, my piece here. And another thing that I thought would be really cute, because again, I haven't used these a lot, are to add the gold hoops. So I might bring one out for this. Okay, and then I'm going to need a little strip for a sentiment. We stamped this one yesterday, but let me see what else we might have here. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this one from the many messages because we were talking about this yesterday, and this is already cut and everything. So I stamped a whole bunch of these, and then I'm just going to add this one, thinking of you with sympathy and prayers. So that one is a great one for adding if you want to stamp a whole bunch of stuff at once. So we're going to kind of bring these together. Just wanted to give this a moment to dry. Be cool if they also came out with these hoops in silver, because I do love silver, as you can see from most of my jewelry. Silver or white gold. All right, so it looks pretty good. And I know we have this little bit of a wonk here, but we're kind of just going to excuse that. So what I'm going to do is I have my gold hoop. I'm going to just do what I did the other day, which was adding a little bit of liquid glue. You probably could also, if you're feeling bold, just a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of run it with my finger. You could probably set this onto your adhesive sheet and pick up just enough adhesive to adhere this. Okay, let me wipe off my fingers. Now, granted, when you add this, you can see it does add a little bit of dimension and a little bit of heft to your, I think we're going to do like that, to your card. So this is going to need to either be adding some postage to it or hand delivering. Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to piece this. I think I might pull one of these off and add this here. And again, remember this has adhesive on the back of it. So even though it may be kind of stuck in different levels, it's still going to stick to the card. So I'm going to do this piece first. See if I can get this off. Probably should have had my little piercer. Let's see. Oh heavens, because you know why I have sticky fingers? There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this off. And I'm going to kind of set this to see how I want it, but I'm not going to press it yet. Same with this one. Remember, this had adhesive on the back too. This has a little slit here, so it's kind of easy. Oop, because it wasn't fully added, so I can pull that off a little bit easier. So it's going to kind of give you like the double layer. So I'm going to try to piece it in between. And you can always, even if you wanted to, nip this little piece off a teeny bit. I'm going to make this just a little bit shorter. Okay. All right, so I think I like the way that is. And then this I'm going to put up with a little bit of dimensional piecing. So really quickly as well, I also have some old fun foam pieces. So if I wanted to, I could even cut little strips of this. This is just left over from a project I did with Christian. You could use the edge of your piece, or this is also a good time, even though I don't really love them, to use the mini dimensionals. So I'm just going to put a couple mini dimensionals. I think I need probably about 2 at each end. And then we'll check. And then what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of liquid glue. That way I know the center will stay. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to run a teeny bit of liquid glue here. Just a little bit, just so it grabs whatever it's in the center there. Okay. And pull this off. And then for our next one, so this is kind of more like a fancier with having that extra gold piece in there and bringing up the whole level of the card. This is probably more like an avid, but we're also going to do a simple. Okay, so, oops, it's a teeny bit crooked, but I might have pressed it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so that's a really pretty card. You can't really notice so much that this goes off to the side with the little white additional in there. So not so bad. I'm going to trim this off because these little extra pieces drive me crazy. So let me move these out of the way. Then we'll do the same thing again. So there's one. Move some of these over. This one. So once again, I'm going to fold this. That way it's less to deal with. And lost my bone folder again. You would think, I have like 3 different bone folders. You think I'd be able to keep at least some of them kind of together. All right, so, and by the way, look, I went searching for a pencil, and don't you know there was a mechanical pencil right next to me. All right, so that's kind of like our outline for our circle. So this one used the hoops. I'm not going to use the hoops for anything else. We're going to kind of try to keep these a little bit simpler. So we also have this piece. Now this one has the adhesive at the top and the bottom, so I'll probably add a little bit to the center, and I might nip this piece off a little bit, but we also still have this little piece here. So we're going to go with, this is the peacock, so I'm going to bring this out and I'm going to go with our smoky slate again. So this is still that same simple image from before. I'm not trying to go matchy-matchy, so I'm going to stamp this image, but with this branch. So same thing again. Let's see. The one cool part is if this was photopolymer, you could almost curve it a little bit more. So we're going to go up this way. I want to stamp it off first. There's one. And I know this part isn't really following that natural curve as much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink it, but I'm going to wipe a little bit of this off. I'm just going to take my cloth. Okay, let me stamp off. And same there. All right, and then, so we have our 2 pieces, which were this and this. So I think I might bring this off just a smidge as well. Just a little bit. And this one, I might actually bring this piece off. Just a little surgery. So you do kind of also have to nip this here. So we have that little branch. And then this one will kind of sit here at the bottom. And then we just have to add in our sentiment. But we could even bring this piece up here. So I think I'm going to do that. So let me just give this just a moment for this ink to dry just a little bit. And I'm going to look at, I'm going to do this one instead. You can do this. Because that's a really nice sentiment as well, I think. For people who are struggling getting through anything. Okay, so I just have just a little extra leftover square there. And for this one, instead, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stick with the color. So I'm going to go with Pretty Peacock. This one was stamped off, I believe. Nope, that was full strength. I was going to say, because I'm going to do this full strength, but it'll just be 2 full strength. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this at the bottom so I can kind of trim it off somewhat evenly. That's okay. Could be better, but it's fine for now. Okay, and I'm going to end up trimming this up. Clearly, I am hungry. I should have gone this the other direction, I think. This one might be a straight on one end because I don't have enough room to cut it. So it's going to be straight on one side, and then I have the angle on the other side. So we'll go with that for this one. And let me move these over. Spring forward tonight. Oh my goodness, I know. Those who do. I kind of wish we didn't anymore. I really just rather have the extra daylight. I really don't need the extra hour. I'm super excited. Thanks for the reminder though, Kathy. Christian's only told me 14 times today and yesterday and the day before. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and piece this piece on. I think this has adhesive pretty much all over it. Let's see if I can find the end. Okay. Oops, that was a connector piece. So I'm just pulling off the backing. Again, be careful because with these pieces that are delicate, you can rip off a leaf. So kind of mind what you're doing. So here's one. Okay. And this was our other one. Again, this only had adhesive kind of at the top here because of where I cut it and at the bottom. So I'm going to just throw just a little bit of liquid glue in the center there. Just a teeny bit. And then we're going to add, I think, this piece in as well. And again, we're not really going for like a hard and fast circle. We kind of just want the illusion of a circular shape. So that's why I'm not really defining the circle. If we go off of it a little bit, it's no problem. Oh, Lord, so do I. Karen, that is... I just wish they'd pick one. I think I'd prefer with the springing forward and the later sunlight though, but I 100% agree with you. Back and forth is so irritating. Okay. So that was just that little white piece I trimmed off. I just want to add this. And I notice it has a little hangy piece here, so I'm just going to, that's probably from where we surgeried it. I'm just going to trim it up just a little bit and pop this here. And it's kind of even overlaying part of it. And I'm just going to make sure it has all has a nice press down. You can see the little gray pieces popping up. And then we're going to just put this right across. And now I feel like, I think I'm going to fancy cut this because I don't like the straight as much as I said I did. So I'm just going to go in and just fussy this just a smidge. And let's see, well, that one looks okay. And then I'll go down here. Some of these sentiments, is it just me? Do anyone else struggle with how exactly, that looks dumb. Let me fix this. How exactly to cut these out sometimes, unless you're putting them on an exact piece of paper that I just love the swirly cutting of stuff. I know some people do not like to fussy cut, and I can appreciate that. I'm sure maybe one day I'll be saying the same thing. Like, fussy cutting for the youngins. I'm going to put some dimensionals on this. But I guess because I can still do it, I still love fussy cutting. I've always loved fussy cutting. I've always loved cutting. I remember, like, when I was a little girl, cutting things out was, like, just the coolest thing. I think it was the coolest thing until I found heat embossing. To the side. I'm just kind of trying to play with where I think I'm going to put it over here so it kind of covers that stem a little bit. There we go. And I probably could have done with one more dimensional in here. Let's see if I can sneak it in somehow. Let's see. A little surgery. Ooh, you know what? It's going to be a close fit. Hopefully it's going to blend into the background because I think it's just a teeny bit too big. Just a smidgy too big, but still not so bad. So let me get the little scrap off of there. There are two. Again, pretty simple. This could totally be a Sympathy. You could go either way with it. And then we have our last piece here. Just clean my scraps up a little bit. We'll add this on. I do really like adding the white layers though. I think it just really gives something cool to the card. And again, very simple. Super, super simplistic cards. Not just a little bit of color with a lot of white. All right, move these over. Let's see for my final trick. I feel like this might need just a little bit more. I'm actually going to die cut one more of these. I'm going to do this one more time here on this piece. So I'm going to run this through once more. Kind of make sure that's slightly still. Oops. Lost it. Amy, you hate fussy cutting, huh? No, it's not for everybody. I've learned that over the years. Oh, Lord, because Amy said she hates something. They hid the comment. Is this? Come on now. This is just crazy. Held it for review. Heavens to Betsy. Can't use the H word anymore, I guess. All right. Gonna pop this out. And see if this one's any more. You can't cut in a straight line. You know, I can't cut in a straight line very well either. Maybe that's kind of why I like fussy cutting. Because you don't have to go in a straight line usually. You kind of go with the pattern of whatever you're cutting. All right, let's see. I'm going to look and see what other really nice... I am using heavy white for the base. But everything else, all the die cut and the stamping was done on regular white. So only heavy white for the base. All right, so let's take a peek. Gosh darn it, I want something that's not here. Let's just do this one as a thanks, because I really like that scripty sentiment. So we're going to make this one into just a thanks. I know I said sympathy, so I fibbed. I'm sorry. Oh, fussy cutting's difficult because you're a lefty? Oh my goodness. I never would have even thought about that. That's a really good point. All right, so I have a thanks. Oops, and I'm going to do it in same ink. So I will do, actually, you know what? I'm going to do Pretty Peacock. So instead of Just Jade, it'll be Just Jade stamp and then Pretty Peacock ink. Let's see if we like it dark or light though. Dark. Okay. I'm going to stamp this. Whoopsie. Come back. Oh, I love that one. Gosh, I love cursive. Love cursive. It's so beautiful. Oops. Okay, to have that. And let's do this one freehand. We won't use the circle for this. I'm going to put my circle back. Whoops. So don't lose it. And instead, we'll just freehand this one. We'll do this smoky slate. And I'm going to bring out... First, I buried this one all the way at the bottom. I'm going to bring out these little guys here. We'll just do these. Just to add a little something. These also do have dies, so... I'll do these. 1 and 2. Okay. All right, so I'm going to eyeball, but I'm going to stamp off first. So we move these over so I don't ruin them. So if we're going with, we have our little piece here. And potentially we might trim this up a little bit, our little piece here and something there. So what I want is a little something sticking up here and here. So let's kind of eyeball, see what we do it better this way. Ooh. Okay, this needs more ink. Again, I must really go through this. I must use smoky slate way more than I think I do, because it is dry, and I swear I feel like I just re-inked it, unless this was one of the ones I missed. Okay, sorry about that. Just gonna take my very expensive tool and push the ink in. These tools, you can't find them anymore. I do use the same one for all the colors except for white. All right, let's see. 1, 2. All right, I'm going to go with 2. So I'm going to stamp. Going to pretend like that's my circle. Okay. Hold on. Here's where I get to my little smudging space. Looks good. I'm just kind of adding like a second little layer of leaves by just turning it, and I wiped some of the ink off of the bottom. So that looks good. I don't want to overdo it because then we're going to lose what we're trying to do with the stamp, or with the card, I should say. And these are nice because they kind of are a little bit bendy. So I'm going to go ahead and peel. I have some little pieces on the tops of these, and then the other is kind of one large sticky piece. All right. So if you kind of find a piece and then you just pull gently up, it'll pull the whole thing off. We're just gonna set this like so. I'm not pressing it down just yet. And then same for this one. I have a little half piece here I'm gonna pull off. All right. And again, this piece is going to kind of be the part that brings it together. And this one has a full sticker on the back, so that's nice. We don't have to worry about that at all. Okay. Looks good. So I'm just going to give these a press. Since they kind of are, this one must not have any adhesive on it. Okay, I'm going to add a teeny bit of glue just to this little dot here. Just a little bit. This one here. That one may have adhesive on it. And that looks good. Okay, so those we're in. And then this one is just going to kind of go, let's see, do we like it a certain way? Like that. Okay, and then we have our sentiment. Wherever I put it, we're going to have to locate it. It's probably underneath. Nope, here it is over here. And then we'll put this up on dimensionals too, just because it'll look nicer. So I'm going to trim this with the word. 1. Gave myself enough space here. Just simple. Okay. I'm going to add, I'm just going to stick with the mini dimensionals. And this does look a teeny bit off because of the way I cut it. But honestly, I think the shape of the words is kind of helping me to hide it a little bit. So unless you're looking at it upside down, you can see, which they're never going to see that because we're going to put it down. Oops. One more. Get rid of these little ones. I know, I love this set too. I tell you what I love even more is the paper. It's really complimentary, but I like the fact of you don't even need to have the paper and you can make something really beautiful with it. Okay, so let's see. You can kind of look around and see. I tend to be a right paster, but just eyeballing to see where I really like it. All right, I think that's going to be my final. So it's kind of circle-esque, but not too, you know, hard circle-y. And let me move these out of the way. So I think they're all very pretty. And again, they have some white, a little bit of bling in some of them. I really think if we had these in silver circles, it would be super, super, super cute. And also very on trend and versatile. That's the other thing that's really nice about that. So I know I did believe I titled this as Sympathy cards, and look, I went, these two are, and this one is thanks. But maybe someone who's going to get a lot of cards could use some thank you cards to send out to people. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for the casserole they dropped off. So I guess loosely it could go with being a thank you card, right? So yes, hit the thumb up for me. I would truly appreciate that if you give me a thumbs up. If you are new, welcome, and thank you for joining me. I know sometimes I welcome people a little late, but better late than never, right? If you love my channel, I would love for you to, first of all, click the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, share it with a friend. All those things do help me to be seen without you spending a penny. It just takes probably a moment of your time. One other thing, though, when we're finished with YouTube Lives, the crazy part is that the comments do disappear. So if there's something on here that you want everyone to see again, you can absolutely go back. However, I want to, yes, you do always need thanks with the sympathy. Thank you, Kathy. That is very true. I am going to go through and just check to make sure I didn't miss any questions or anything before we wrap up today, because once you end, they disappear. So let me just take a quick glance through here, and I will post these. I'm probably not going to post them right away because we're going to go get his tire fixed, and then I think we're going to IHOP to have lunch together. So woohoo day for us. Plus I need to remember to go put some something on my shirt to get this ink out of it. So clear and pretty this morning. That's great, Diana. And Kathleen, sunny Florida. We had your weather last week. I think we gave it back to you though, because it's supposed to be pretty chilly. Another thing I was going to mention, and I completely forgot. And we were talking about this earlier. Christine was talking about casing. I just want to show you this because I'm not going to be able to whip one out that fast. But one other thing you could do, and this would be kind of like a take on the cards we made yesterday, is that you could cut, let's just say, for example, we'll just pick one. I'm going to pick the third largest stitched, scalloped rectangle. So you could cut a white rectangle and you could put it behind here. So just to have like a visual interest layer, because it would break up the circular nature. Not necessarily with this card, but you could do it with this one or with this one. And if you did it with this card, I probably would just put it in the center. So die cut, and I'm going to do this because if not, I'm going to forget. So I'm going to do one really quickly. And I'm going to die cut this on that little piece that's left. And then I'm going to save it and I'm going to set these here. And then later tonight, I'm going to make another card with this on there and show you what I mean. But basically, you could also do this with just the regular stitch rectangles. So what you're doing is you're just adding another layer of visual interest, and I did get a little close on this one, so I'll probably have to put this with something at the bottom covering, or maybe something on the side covering because I cut just a little too close here. But you're going to lay this behind, and then you put all your stuff of it on top of it, and it'll give you like another layer of visual interest. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm probably going to need to recut it because that's definitely not as accurate as I wanted it to. But you could do that with the stitched rectangles too. But if you do it and you're doing things in like a circle or an oval, you want something that has a hard line because it'll give it a nice contrast. So just another suggestion there. And just using your phone to see the comments. Oh, that's so funny. Thank you. He's getting big for his bike. He's getting big for his shorts, that's for sure. And that's the life of living with boys. You know, Kathleen, I think that's kind of what I figured out, right? That's boys for you. Boys and girls are definitely different. But I did have two younger brothers, and I never saw anyone bust through their tire either. You're making Easter basket treats for your stamp club. That's so fun, Mary. How awesome. Yes, and it's definitely on my other channel there, Trisha. So if you aren't subscribed, Trisha, or Tisha, I'm sorry, not Trisha, Tisha. If you aren't subscribed, if you do hit the subscribe and notification button, when I upload a video, it will tell you as well. Thank you, Carmen, for joining. And everyone else, Marlene and Jean. Oh, the gold ring could be spray painted. That's true. That's a good idea. But I'd rather they not do that because that's extra work I'm never going to do. Oh, really? Wow. Lucky you, Ohio. That's awesome. Oregon has been trying to not turn back, but Washington and California have to agree. Holy cow. So you have to get the whole coast to do it, huh? I know Arizona. Jean, Arizona's lucky. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I can understand Diana. I don't think I would want to do fussy cuss for 50 to 60 things. That's a lot. And I do hope that it stays for the next catalog. I love this one too. This is one of my favorite ones. This would make really beautiful Christmas cards. You're absolutely right, Cindy. So pretty. Well, look, Victoria, you bought the whole bundle. I have tons of ideas. If you search my channel and you search for Forever Fern, I know you will find at least 5 videos, and you could always even take some of the other card videos that I've done and just switch up the dies. I do that all the time. That's how I get a lot of my ideas from Pinterest. I just switch out to a different thing. Oh, you could emboss it with silver powder. Cheryl, now that's a good idea because I could definitely do that. You love daylight savings time in a farming area. That is a good idea. Cheryl, I might have to do that. So I'm going to write myself a note before I sign off here. So I'm going to say silver emboss for gold hoop. And then I'm also going to make a card, like a circle card with rectangle stitch die cut. That way I don't forget. Which is also why I've added the paper back in, because I used to just use my other easy clean background, but I would always want to do stuff and then I'd forget what it was I wanted to do and I never did anything. So thank you guys so very much for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. All goes well. At 5, I'm going to go with 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll update if anything else crazy happens. But thank you guys so very much for joining me. I truly appreciate chatting with you. It's almost like stamping with friends again, which I hope to be able to do in person someday soon. But I like it because you all give me good ideas. Look at that. See, I already have 2 other things I can try when we're finished. Thank you guys so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again real soon.